class motto of the class of 1988 refers to the power of the individual. There's a feeling we get currently in the 20th century as our universe gets vaster and vaster, and our systems become more and more complex, and our corporations become so powerful. We as individuals seem emaciated. We seem emasculated. We seem so very tiny, so very, very tiny. Paul Johnson, in his book, Modern Times, The World from the 20s to the 80s, said, "In our century, we have fallen massively in love with corporations, with movements, with systems, with collectives, with governments, with states, to the neglect of the individual. We've all been duped by this notion. When will it dawn on us that states and nations and organizations like that are our supreme liars, wasters, and destroyers, and that the only conscience in the world does not belong to the states and nations? The only place you're going to find conscience is in the individual. Before anything can change in this world, it has to start with the individual." We then might reflect that in the 20th century, we have talked a good line about caring about the individual, raising the level of the individual. But can you handle this? This century has been so destructive to the individual also. Winston Churchill may have said it best in his history of World War I, in which he made a prophetic and tragic refrain, in which he keeps saying, "I begin to think that this may be the century that will choose to use the individual as rubbish and garbage and cannon fodder." Little was it realized back then how true these words might pan out, because the individual has, again and again in our century, been used as rubbish and garbage and cannon fodder, with heads of government calling the shots from their apparent safety. There's no question, then, as to why individuals have felt a loss of individual self-esteem. This has been the greatest brainwashing of the 20th century, in which we have come to believe that the world in front of our eyeballs is more significant than the world in back of our eyeballs. To me, that is the beginning of the great tragedy. If what is out there is really what counts, and we evaluate the world by what we can see and hear and touch, what do we really amount to then in this huge universe? I'll tell you that from a physical point of view, what we are is a group of insignificant beings on a very insignificant planet. What I'm getting at is that we don't amount to a hill of beans physiologically if we measure our value in purely physiological terms. All across the world this evening, there are societies that are languishing in poverty and oppression. Again and again, if you ask these societies why they are so bad off, they use the same cover story. Either they say it's because of Western imperialism that has done it to us, or they've had reversals of climate and nature. And in some places, this is true. In the South Sahara, yes, there have been reversals of climate and nature. And in some places, Western imperialism has done them wrong. But in other places, those cover stories are wearing pretty thin, because the poverty and oppression is their own fault. Now, what fault is it? It is the fault of not trusting the individual. They want to run a nice, tight ship. And if you want to run a nice, tight ship, economically or politically, what do? You get people to dress alike, and goose-step alike, and think alike, and sing alike, and so on. You certainly don't want individuals to think for themselves, because you know what they do? They rock the boat. They ask embarrassing questions. So the individual is stifled, where everything is put into a gigantic system in which everyone must function alike. But look what this has produced. Great poverty. Because the only source of creativity and ideas comes from the individual. Years ago in England, Aneurin Bevan was running on the Labour Party ticket, and Aneurin Bevan wanted a very collectivized economy in England. And he got it for a while because the Labour Party won for a long time. When Aneurin Bevan was running for public office, he had the cutest campaign speech as he made his whistle stops throughout England. His campaign speech was always the same, and it started this way. "We live on an island made of solid coal in the midst of a sea full of fish. It would take a genius to create a shortage of either." Inside of 6 months, his Labour Party had created a shortage of both, because Because when you trust the system more than the individual, the collective more than the person, that's what always seems to happen. People seem to run out of things. But meanwhile, talk to a Japanese manager and you get the funniest response. I have man down on loading dock, they will say. He take night course. I give him books. I think maybe I prepare him for personnel. He understand people. They're trying to draw out of these individuals that power behind the eyeballs. And if we do not want to continue to run a bad second in the world markets, we also must draw out this same power and destroy the buffoonery of corporate power. If you saw the movie of Gandhi, you saw something that was almost unbelievable. You saw a little runt of a guy, one individual, go up against the whole British Empire, and he wins. Well, this century has not been kind to the individual. But this late in the century, there's a word that runs like a greased pig throughout the conversation. The word is circumstance. Circumstance, circumstance. We blame everything on circumstance, which means that we are acting like victims of circumstance. We don't rise above circumstance, we just blame it on our circumstance. You can rob a bank, you can take a pot shot at the president, steal from an employer, and when you wind up in court, what is the defense? My circumstance did it to me. We don't always use the word circumstance. What do they say? My socio-economic condition. That's what made me do it. My chromosomes made me do it. The way my grandfather parted his hair. That's what made me do it. Circumstance is important, but the most important ingredient in circumstance is attitude. That is the part of circumstance we create. That part can change, and we do the changing. That is the power of the individual, all returned to us again. Yes, Gandhi and attitude. Now, Albert Einstein gave us a whole new way of looking at our physical universe. That universe that isn't solid anymore. He promulgated the theory of relativity. The theory of relativity is one of the simplest ideas you ever heard. The idea is simply this. Your way of looking at anything counts for as much as the thing you are looking at. Why? Because your way of looking at anything colors it, defines it, interprets it, and gives it meaning. So that in a sense, half of all reality is your attitude. Half of all reality is your looking. Thus it is that if you could suddenly change your way of looking at life, you would have a whole new world suddenly given to you. But we have forgotten that and are waiting for Washington to do it for us, or Wall Street, or Moscow. Believe me, nobody is going to give us a new world. But we can give ourselves a whole new world because, as Einstein said, your way of looking at anything counts for as much as what you're looking at. I'm sure most of you recognize the name of Norman Vincent Peale. Anyhow, Norman Vincent Peale explained how his wife wanted to go to Hong Kong to shop for dresses. In his gravelly voice, he said, "Dress shops are not my cup of tea, so I decided to explore." And then in this exploration, he started going down the winding Chinese alleys. Only he would be courageous enough to do that. But perchance he came to a window of a Chinese tattoo parlor. He was fascinated by the graphic designs. In the midst of all those, he saw a slogan written in English. It said, "Born to lose." He said, I looked at that in amazement. I said, what kind of an idiot would want those words attached to his epidermis? Born to lose. If we've been walking with him, we've been able to explain it very easily as to how many people in America today like to blame all their reverses and failures and basic laziness on the proposition that it was not their fault, it was their circumstance, their stars, their horoscope. They were born to lose. Anyway, Norman Vincent Peale went in. Perchance there was an old man in the store who spoke pidgin English, and Norman Vincent Peale asked him, what about that slogan in the window, born to lose? I'm interested in that. The old Chinaman said, take off coat, please. No, I don't want it for myself. I just want to know what kind of an idiot would want a slogan like that on his body. was a long silence, and then the old man in Oriental wisdom said these words: "Before tattoo on body, tattoo in mind." That is the heart of the matter. There are loads of people in our society who have that dumb notion tattooed in their minds: born to lose. What a self-fulfilling prophecy that is. But maybe, just maybe, our mentality is such that we were born to win. Maybe we were born to prevail, to transcend our failure of this century. Maybe this is the group of young people who will restore the dignity of the individual. Goethe issued the challenge: lose this day loitering. It will be the same story tomorrow, and the next day more dilatory. Then indecision brings its own delays, and we are lost, lamenting over days. Are you in earnest? Then seize this very moment, what you can do or what you think you can do. Do it. Live life, live life, live life.
specifically to Vice President Pat Maness of the Board of Education, I wish to present this class, having certified that each of them, who are seated before you, have met the standards for graduation from high school in the state of Utah. Each will receive a diploma certifying to that effect this evening. The Chairman, or Vice President Maness, the class of 1988.
Honored graduates, on behalf of the Board of Education, we accept the recommendation of Principal Simmons, the Delta High School faculty, and the West Central Utah Vocational Center faculty. In accordance with the graduation requirements of the state of Utah and the Millard School District, we confer upon each of you a high school diploma with all the privileges and rights pertaining thereto. In the motto you have chosen by Faulkner, he speaks two key elements to success, those of sacrifice and endurance. Those of you who have truly sacrificed and endured to the end are to be congratulated and encouraged to continue on with the same spirit and desire. Remember the efforts of your parents, the faculty who have worked diligently to provide educational opportunities which have developed and challenged your abilities. I leave these final thoughts with you. First, the service that you render to others in need only helps pay the rent that you occupy while here on earth. Second, always put back more than you take. Congratulations, the class of '88. You may strive to be worthy, or may you strive to be worthy of happiness and success. For neither one of these attributes are gifts that must be earned.
John Corey. Andrea Allred, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Chesley Allred, Delta. Clint Ryan Atkinson, son of Mr. and Mrs. J. Atkinson, Delta. Carrie Mergenthal, daughter of Ken and Donna Mergenthal, Delta. David Bird, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ronald and Lamona Bird, Southern. Sherry Ann Decker, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Decker, Delta. Roberta Jumbo, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Jumbo, Delta.